Yes, sir, we can start.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Amardeep and Mr. Gaurav. Shall we go ahead?
Yes, sir. Let's
Okay.
get started.
Okay, so good morning to all of you. I am very happy to have on board Mr. Gaurav and Mr. Amardeep, software engineering working with Microsoft. And first of all, let me congratulate them because the initiative which they have taken to speak to you guys in order to ensure the employability through at the entry level at least. All right. So, and particularly in this situation where we have, n number of options and it is difficult to eliminate where we are not entitled to be. So in this time, it is really very important to have this kind of initiative and at the same time interaction. Okay. So without much ado, I would invite Mr. Amardeep and Mr. Gaurav to interact with you all, right? Most importantly, if you have questions, you can ask even during the discussion, and certainly you'll be given the slot for the questions also. And in case if your questions are unanswered, you can send your questions to me. It would be diverted to the speakers, and that would be answered. Every single question would be answered for sure from my side. All right. So on behalf of KC College of Engineering and Research and Management Studies and Research, I welcome both the speakers, Mr. Amardeep and Mr. Gaurav, on this talk with the resume which got us into Microsoft. Mr. Gaurav, Mr. Amardeep, now session is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind words. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing great and you're up and running. Like you have done with your breakfast and you're not hungry or anything. Like no distractions for the next 1.5 hours. Today we are your hosts to share our experiences and our journey that we have been through in the past 5 years. So like we have been out of college for the last 5 years and we have kind of disconnected with the youth, the current youth, the aspiring engineers of today. And we wanted to connect with the youth and share our experiences. And today we will be sharing one of the most important things that we did, to get into Microsoft. And like it reflects the journey that we have gone through. So let's give you a quick introduction about who we are. You must be wondering like who we are, where are we from, so things like that. My name is Amardeep Singh Siglani, and I'm a software engineer too at Microsoft. Currently working in the United States campus, and I've been in the company for the past 2 years now. And before that, I completed my master's from University of Florida in 2018. Before that, I worked in India for a year before I came for a master's in US. And before that, I graduated from BGTI, BTech Electronics 2015 batch. I'm originally from Navi Mumbai. I hope you all are familiar with that place. And so that's a quick intro about myself. I would like to Gaurav to share out his experience or his introduction. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Amardeep, and thank you very much, Ravi sir, for introducing us and your so generous words about us. So my name is Gaurav Yevle. I work here at Microsoft as a software engineer in Redmond campus for almost about 2 years now. Before that, even I completed my master's in electrical and computer engineering from University of Florida. Before that, I graduated from Sardar Patel College of Engineering in electrical engineering. So after my undergrad, I did masters, and right after that, basically I'm doing I'm working for Microsoft. So that's all about me. And basically, I'm natively from a small town in North Maharashtra called Dhule. I hope you have at least heard of that name. So yeah, no, I think.
Yeah, let's get started. So, would you like to say like a few words about the current situation and like how it's been?
Oh yeah, sure. So we are living in very unprecedented times. Like I don't think any of us have ever imagined that we would be facing pandemic in our lifetimes. Pandemics is something, the last thing we would even think that we can came across in our lives. So this pandemic has such a diverse impact on our life. Like it's been impacting each and every aspect of our life. We are trying to find innovative ways to do the normal things. though we are not really normal. Like this new normal is not really normal. Very like great colleges like yours are trying to find innovative things to keep you connected, like to keep your academic things going on with new tools and things like the one we are having right now. But even after that, I can totally understand these are very uncertain random times in which it's very difficult for us to expect what is next. It's very difficult for us to anticipate the scenario or the new normal or how to really significant impact on even on each and everyone's mental health. I can totally understand that. But however, I feel like instead of not really control, I think all of us should try to do even a small thing that would lead for our better tomorrow. So though we cannot control a lot of things today, we should try to do at least a bit to be a part of a better tomorrow. In your case specifically, where you are right now in your life, I think let's think of what you can do today to achieve your bigger dream tomorrow. For example, your dream might be landing some job in maybe cool tech company like say Microsoft, or someone's dream might be to do next steps for their higher education or something that I don't know. So let's take this time that you have got to invest in yourself, in building some skills, in educating yourself, in making yourself empowered for next rest of your life or next few years, or maybe the new normal that we would be facing. So that said, now you must have been thinking, what is this talk about? Who we are? Why are we doing this? So I would like to quickly go over that. Why are we doing this thing? So just like all of you, you are stuck at home. Even here in US, both of us have been home quarantined for almost 6 months now. We have been so in that time we got real time to think about our personal and professional lives. We got chance to look into the things or the activities that we can do to give back to the society where we come from. So we explored a lot of ways. So one of the obvious way was to provide certain monetary help to the folks who needs that. But after a certain time, we realized this is not really enough, or this is not this. Its impact is really short term and temporary. Then, while thinking about other ways to give back to the society, we came across this idea to share our journey, to share our experiences with fellow new graduates like you, who will be the future of our country or this world, who can create the impact. So we want to this will have definitely the broader impact than maybe the short term impact of any kind. Out of this idea, this initiative has been started. So this is our one of the very early talk where we want to share our experiences. We want to share our journey of how we came wherever we are right now to with all of you, with all young aspiring engineers like you, and hopefully you can make most of that. So with that said, in this conversation, though it's like I know this is this is remote conversation or the discussion we are having, we are far apart from you, we are just actually literally talking to just a camera. But I would like to keep this conversation a two-way. I don't want to we just don't want to keep us talking from one side and you have to be you don't have to be at the listening end. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your perspective so that we can drive this conversation in this discussion. So for that, I think we have one link that is, I guess,
Yeah,
available on your machine. You are able to see on your screens. So if you click on that link, let me share. You can post anonymous questions. So please feel free to post any question if you have in the rest of this talk, so that we'll try to answer that right away, or we can take those questions at the end of the talk in the Q&A section. So I'll quickly share my screen and show you how to pose the question.
Okay. It seems there are some technical limitations on the machine. We are trying to share it with you guys, but let me quickly grab the link for you guys and show it to you. So if you click the link, this is something.
Oh yeah, wow. We already see the
Yeah,
question.
we already
That's
see a
great.
certain question. So I think you guys have quickly picked up how to ask the questions. So
That's
yeah,
great.
that's the way. Basically, click that link and you will see a basically an input box,
Yeah, that's
and you
awesome.
can ask us anonymously, or you can also like just leave your name for us to know who is this person. But yeah, so that's the gist of it. Coming back to the talk. So like Gaurav gave his perspective about like what is going on today and like why did we want to do this. So just to quickly add to that, we feel that when we were in our undergrad and where we are now, there has been a huge transformation that we went through mostly during our masters, and that is something that we see that students from like IITs or NITs already have that exposure in India, and we want to share that exposure with you guys so that you don't have to like so either you can start a little early and reach a little or like achieve bigger things where you are now instead of having to like get this exposure and like so yeah that's the whole point that we want to share our journey and the learnings that we have had in the past 3 to 4 years and how you can leverage those learnings today so that you can do maybe even better than us. With that said, let's get into the main content of the talk. Like enough philosophy. We don't want to bore you guys to death. And if you feel like you need a break or something like that, you can post that as a maybe meeting chat in the meeting chat, or let Ravi sir know he can relay that to us. And the format that we will be following is 1 hour of talk from our end and 30 minutes of Q&A from your end. Uh, with that said, let's get started with the main content.
Sure. So this talk would be basically consist of the 5 pillars in your resume that we want to discuss today. One of them is academics, then technical skills, then projects, then experience, and the section called awards and achievements. So now let's dive in. So the first topic is academics. So academics is the I think first section. Let's see what Amardeep has to say about the academics. Amardeep, how do you look at the undergrad academics we have in India, or the courses and the curriculum that we have to take as a part of our undergrad degree?
Sure, Gaurav. It's a good question. So what we have learned so far is that when we are in India or like when we are in undergrad, like we try to follow what we have learned from our 10th or 12th grade, and we see the academic courses as a way to get good marks, get a good degree basically, and maybe pass first class or be the toppers. But what we learned is that there is a whole new perspective that from which you can look at academics. All the courses that we study while we are in like in our undergrad or in masters, or like they completely map to the different roles that you see in the day-to-day jobs that we do at these big companies. Like one example of that would be we have courses on like operating systems or distributed computing or cloud computing. So all these are nothing like they're not just academic courses that you study and you're done within six months or so. These are the kind of roles that you will find in the industry, and this is something that you might be doing for the next 15 to 20 years. So what I can tell you is that start looking perspective of what are your interests and where do you want to land up when you get into the industry. Don't just like blankly go and search for jobs. Try to see what interests you. For example, in my case, I came across something called as front end development, and it really interested me, and I started learning about it online and looking for ways to implement that, or to get hands-on experience about that in my courses, in my research assistantship, or even just building some side projects and building like a portfolio for my like of my own. That is something that's how you should look at the academics when you are in your undergrad, because they really map to what the like we do on a day-to-day basis in companies like Microsoft or Google or Facebook. So like just look at them as categories.
I think this is a really new perspective that you just gave us. I really like the way you just said. Like the courses we have are nothing but the maybe orgs in some companies. Like is it, so those are
Totally
kind of the
possible.
platforms that companies build based on those fundamentals.
Yeah.
I think I have something to share here along those lines. So as you said, I had one course called virtual computing in my masters. So during that course, I learned a lot about the virtualization technology, like how does the cloud platforms use the host OS or the hypervisors to host another OSs or the virtual machines. So I think that's what translated into my day-to-day job. And believe me, so today that is the thing that what I do. It totally I could connect it to the courses that I took in my curriculum. So I think yeah, that makes perfect sense to me that we can. This is nice for look at the curriculum that you have in your undergrad or grad studies. That said, how does the CGPA or the marks grades that we get in your courses matters in your job, or how does that matters to get a job at first place?
Okay. So like what we saw, like these big companies or the top firms look for is they don't just hire the toppers. Okay, they have like a cutoff or a benchmark in their mindset for that particular year or for a particular college, and that's how they like that's how academics helps them kind of filter out students to some extent. Like I would like to also stress here that academics is not the only pillar that these big companies look for. We'll be talking about the other four pillars, and they play an equally important role here. So what I can share about academics and how the companies look at them is that they will have some X percentage in their mind. Like for example, just an example would be like maybe 70% or 75%. That is something that they will look at, and and they will like see if the resumes are above that threshold. It can be anything. Okay, it will depend on the year or the competition that's out there. Like it depends the number of good candidates that they are getting out there. So with that said, like try to research this from your own. Like talk to your seniors, talk to people who are already in the industry from maybe your colleges or neighboring colleges, and try to like get like a perspective or sample set of uh, what were their academics like, because that will help you to map it in your own day-to-day journey. And like in my case, I did have really good academics, but when I talk to the people who interview at Microsoft, like my mentor at Microsoft or my colleagues, my senior engineer colleagues who interview interns or full-time employees like me, like what's their perspective on this? So they all agreed on the front that they don't like basically neglect a candidate if they don't have really good academics. They look at all the other things as well. They definitely look at what kind of technicals skills have they acquired, what kind of projects have they worked on, and if they have any experience or they have any achievements. So things like that also matter a lot. So don't over stress on academics alone, but do try to maintain it in like above the threshold that you might find. So for example, in US they have a CGPA system out of 4, and around 3.3 is considered to be something of that threshold level. So anything like above 3.3, they consider they stop considering academics after that. Like they treat them as equals, and then they see how the candidate is performing in the interviews. So that's what I would say, how like CGPA or percentage matters to these big companies.
I think this is great, but I want to understand now, like, how is this academics different from 10th or 12th? For example, say my 10th academics is very important for me to get into 11th. My 12th academics is very important to get me into the good engineering college. How about this? Like, how much academics is important in my undergrad to get into good company?
So you kind of already answered the question. Like I was going to get to that when we are in 10th or 12th grade, the marks really matter a lot, because we have something to lose if we don't like land up in the top. X percent of students, because we don't get really good colleges after 10th or 12th if we don't get really good grades. But that is not the case when you're in undergraduate studies, because these are the degrees that will shape your, I already mentioned, on the basis of what you do now, you can decide what you want to do for the next 15-20 years. Like if you find your interest in something, it hardly matters like in a period of 1 to 2 years, your academics don't, like, they stop mattering less, and it's the experience that you build, it's the skills that you build, they start mattering more. So uh, like unlike 10th and 12th, we don't have to engage in a rat race for the academic section at least. So you can focus on other skills that are equally or more important than academics.
I see. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. But I think in our Q&A section, I see one question. Does it affect getting good job if someone has 1 or 2 KTs? Do you want to answer this right now?
uh, sure, I can take a dig at it.
Yeah.
So when you say you have 1 or 2 KTs, it really depends on which year and what subjects were the KTs in, because like from the software engineering perspective, or even from electronic side perspective, if you have a KT in chemistry or physics, that doesn't really tank your chances. And then, like I already mentioned, like academics is important, but the other three skills can help you, like can really help you shine. Like, they can kind of put a shadow on the academics. Like if you build really great projects, or if you have really like maybe done an internship with a really good employer, and you have like really good technical skills, so those things can help you overshadow your academics, is what I can say. And yeah, like I would limit myself to that for now.
I see. So I think what you are saying is, even if I have 1 or 2 KTs, if I can salvage it with maybe my other projects or maybe some experience or internship, I could still make it to the great company.
Yeah, like all you need to make sure is when you are approaching a recruiter or you are in an interview, you don't talk about things that you failed at, but you try to show them what you have succeeded at. Right. So if you are interested in, like, let's say operating systems, and you have a KT in operating system, that looks really bad. So that is not something that the companies would like.
I see.
But if, like I already mentioned, if it is in an irrelevant subject, the companies, they do give like you a bit of leeway if you really show them that you have the potential. And these companies, they really want great talent, and irrespective of the colleges they are from or the backgrounds they come from, so they don't really distinguish between the candidates if they are able to showcase that they have the skills and the passion for the software engineering industry.
Yeah, that's great. So we already had one question saying like, you are from VJTI and SPIT. How about like any student coming from the college, other college? So I think you asked that question as well. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like also, like, to just add to that particular question, we have a lot of friends here like today that they come from like kind of unknown colleges. Like I already mentioned, academics is an important part, and we will share you a sample resume with you, like the kind of resumes that people submit to Microsoft and Google, and you will see that academics don't over, like, it's a very small portion of your resume. The most of the portion comes out of from the work experience, your projects, and your technical skills. So you shouldn't worry about which colleges are you coming from. If, like I said, if you have the talent, the passion, and if you develop those skills over time. So maybe I missed this. So building a resume is not a 1 or 2 day thing. It takes a year if you're, if you want to really build out a strong resume. You need to put the hard work, start early, and that can get you like way ahead from the other people. With that said, that does not mean that students who are already in their fourth years or who have already just graduated cannot come to these companies. Everyone has their own timeline. Like even for us, when we did not come to Microsoft after our undergrad, right? We had to go through the masters, and the reason we had to go through the masters program was because we did not have the skills it takes to get into Microsoft. So that's why we are here today, to tell you what kind of skills and the experiences matter to these companies, so that you can start early. Like especially students from second year and third year, you have a really good opportunity when you're in your undergrad to learn these skills. Like one of, like I already mentioned, a mentor of mine, he's from VJTI as well, but he was recruited for US from VJTI in his undergrad. And so basically it puts him like 3-4 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
But the reason he could do it is because he knew like what it takes.
Yeah.
And we did not at that point of time. But we learned over, it's all about like practice, and having that exposure is what matters.
I see. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is, uh, it's not about like from which background you're coming from which college you're coming from. It's about the skills you possess. It's about the skills you show to your recruiter or the hiring manager at the time of your interviews. That's what decides your path.
And especially in the computer science background, the line has really thinned out in the past 2-3 years, because like everything is on the internet today, right? If you really have the skills and the projects, you can easily showcase them using GitHub. You can host your projects, and that makes it really easy. You don't have any boundaries there, and it does not necessarily have to be like a piece of paper resume. Like I will show you a resume that I built when I was approaching these companies, and I hosted it on GitHub. So you can do something similar for yourself, and it gives you a much more richer content to like I already said, it's a one-page thing, and you cannot put everything in there. But when you build your own profiles online, you can have them span over multiple pages, or like as much length as you want. So we'll talk about these skills more, like these things, as we go to the next pillars.
Okay. So I think now let's shift our gears to technical skills. So there is often one question asked, so what are technical skills? So I think, so technical skills are the skills that you acquire from your either part of the curriculum, or maybe from your side projects or the side courses that you take. So technical skills, this is one of the pillar in your resume, where you enlist all the skills that you have acquired as a part of your coursework. So why this particular pillar is important? Because in companies, when they have certain positions, they shortlist the resumes based on the skills resumes have. For example, say whenever there is a position, the position has certain requirement associated with it. The position is created or meant for certain job to get done, and that job is done in software industry, of course, using certain framework or technology. So it is expected that all the candidates who will be appearing for the interview should have at least those skills which are required for the job. So in this section, all of you should enlist the skills that you have acquired during your this coursework of undergrad education. So, however, it doesn't mean that you have to just like blindly write all the skills that you have learned. You should be very careful with that. You should write only the skills that you really know, or because in interview, interviewer can easily start getting deeper into the skills that you have written there. And if you don't really know that, then you can find yourself in very difficult spot during the interview. And I'm sure you don't want to be there. Like you don't want to bluff into the interview. You should not do that, because that's not the great impression that you will be end up creating to the interviewer. Then
so like when you say like about technical skills and what they are, so what skills did you acquire to like build a really good resume, and that helped you like land your first job out of college?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So I think technical skills in maybe as a two categories. I think in software industry at least, I think that we can safely say there are group of technologies that we call programming languages. That is one category, and other frameworks, SDKs, or the tools which are based on top of the languages as one another category. So we can think them as two categories. And then again, like as you said, right, in academic areas to explore for. So based on the area, whichever excites us, I think we should look for the appropriate technology that we want to master. For example, say, so for example, we took say operating system course, or maybe Linux system programming like course. where you are supposed to program at lower level, like set device drivers, or at that or at the firmware level. So at that level, you are expected to code in C and C++. So I think that is the skill I would seek for. Or say, for example, if you want to if you are interested in, say, Android development or maybe backend development, then in object oriented Java or Python are good skills to have. But that's it. Your question was what I learned. So I got opportunity to take certain courses in lower level, like I had advanced system programming course where I built C and C++ skills. Then I had certain courses of distributed computing where I got opportunity to build Java. And then I learned Python in one of my course called Principles of Computer System Design. So those courses give me opportunity to build those skills. So this is how now I think you can see, right, how I learned those skills from my academic courses. So I think this is another perspective to look at the academic courses, which gives us an opportunity to build the skills which we can write in our resume.
Yeah, rightly said. Like even I can relate with that. Like not just academic courses. Like we also already said that you can build side projects of your own if you think that there are not enough courses or enough projects that you're doing in your day-to-day academic journey. For my I can give my personal example where I mentioned that I got interested into front end. So I just started learning what is JavaScript, and then there is a new language from Microsoft called TypeScript, and there are like a lot of frameworks these days that are really popular, like React or Angular or Vue. So I picked up React. I learned that. Then what is Bootstrap? So, and when we say you get a hands-on experience or you learn C++ or Python, is you learn it by doing. We'll touch more on that in the projects section. And before we go to the projects section, so like what role do you think these technical skills play when you are in a big company like Microsoft, or is it like they're just necessary just to get a job, or do you think they also help you once you start working at these companies?
Oh yeah, this is a great question. So how that works, like when the technicals, when recruiter wants to recruit for certain position, they have certain requirements for that position. So based on that, they hire. So they at least assume that you have certain level of proficiency in skills, for example. But it doesn't mean that you need to know that required skill thoroughly, because like that is understood, right? The computer science is, I guess, most fastest evolving industry. Like we have new programming language every maybe other week, and there are trends changing every now and then. So if we think, like, say, for example, 5-6 years back, the Python was the very cool thing. Then I think maybe last from a couple of months, the Golang is something very trending in the all over industry. So it doesn't mean that I have to go and learn all of them, or none of even company expects their candidates to know all of the trending technologies or all the technologies out there. So how that works is basically, as I just said, so the categories we just saw, like system programming, object-oriented programming, and then maybe front-end development. In these categories, if we know few skills, the skills are transferable. These all tech companies understand this. If you know certain skill, you can easily spend some time and get a grasp of new skill. Just to give you a solid example on this, when I was answering my previous question, I said I had strong proficiency in Java, Python, and C++, but I never got opportunity in my academic career to work on .NET C#. But in my job requirement in today, I work in .NET C# stack. So though I didn't even code single line in C#, I got the job, and now I'm working in .NET C#. So the gist is, you don't have to know all the technologies, but please make sure whatever you know, try to know it thoroughly. Try to learn it as much as you can, so that you can take advantage of transfer easy to learning other tools by mapping the things that you already know. Like rather than learning two things or the many things, I would say we should learn how to map the things, how to learn something new from the things that I already know. I think that is the skill that companies look for. That is the skill companies wants their candidates to have.
Yeah, like very well said, Gaurav. So just to sum it up, what we're trying to say here is that you don't need to know every language out there, but try to pick up one or two languages like Java or and JavaScript, so that you have some hold over the technologies and build small projects. I will give you an example of like one or two projects that I built as a student. They don't expect like thousands of lines of code from you fresh out of college, but they do expect that you have the passion, that you're doing something, you're being creative outside the academic, just and not just focusing on academics alone. We see that there are really good questions that are coming up around this. One of the questions that was like, I think it's a really good question here is, many students, they can't cope up with the studies and activities at the same time. We all can either handle maintaining our CGPA or participate in extracurricular activities. Any word for that? Would you like to answer?
Oh, sure. This is great question. So let's think this way. So though you have, I think it's what the academics, right?
Yeah, I like academics and skills. How do you
balance that? Yeah, that's a great question. So now let's think this way. In academics, you have new courses, you learn new topics, you learn new things. At the same time, when you get introduced to those new things in technology, just believe in one thing, that you don't know something unless you have hands-on experience on that. You don't know something unless you have worked on that. So keeping this thing in mind, so as you make progress in your academic career, try to pick the topics and create projects. Like, I don't know if you have maybe a mandatory mini projects in your courses. If you don't have, try to do that. For example, say if I learn new concepts of multi-threading in certain course, let's go ahead and try to implement certain pub submodel with multi-threading or something of that sort. So with this, like along with your academics, you'll be producing the side projects as well. So this is how you build your resumes. Like just don't look your academics as just the courses for exams. Try to, whenever you come across new things, if you feel that excites you, then go ahead and try to implement that. If you see something as, for example, say if you have some course on front-end development, just try to look up for frameworks that are out there, or try to maybe even create like plain JavaScript CSS website. So that converts into your skill, and then that's again another, you can add it as your project, and you can have such a lot of side projects. So with the side projects, you display your passion for the technology, and these are the things. These are kind of brownie points you have. These are the differentiating factors you will end up having than your peers. Okay. So I think.
So just to make the answer more complete and to give you something actionable here, I understand like these might seem to be overwhelming or really abstract. You might not be getting like, what do I do exactly? Yeah. Tell me that, right? So I'll just give an example of a pattern that I followed. Okay, so I did a course on Udemy. So one of the courses I did on Udemy, and let's say it's maybe say a 50 hours course or something like that. Just for an example, hypothetical. Let's say it's a 50 hours course. So you need to map it in a way that every weekend you need to spend 2 hours for building these side projects or skills. And we have gone through the undergrad academics, and it definitely gives you the chance to spend 2 hours. Take out 2 hours for this thing. So every weekend, like 1 hour Saturday, 1 hour Sunday, just spend learning some new skill and building a side project. And just the side projects don't have to be really huge. Like I already mentioned, they can simply just be a one-page portfolio that you create, that all that has is maybe just your resume content, just presented in a really good way with some good CSS animations or something like that, for people who are interested in web development, or like people who are more interested in the back end. Just build an e-commerce website, like just build a very simple REST API. And I don't think that takes like a lot of efforts. Like if you just spend a month, so like 2 hours every weekend, that comes down to 8 hours a month. I think that's more than enough for you to learn a ton of skills and build a ton of side projects. So that's one plan that you can have. Or you can even collaborate with your friends. You don't have to necessarily do this alone. Like collaborate with one of your other friends. That's that you will be building something cool together. So like one really cool project that I always used to think of is like building the Jarvis. You almost have seen Iron Man
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Avengers. So just try to build your own Jarvis. See
Yeah.
what it takes. So take inspiration from actual products, or like a very simple thing would be like just build your own to-do list app, or just build your own calendar,
Yeah.
or even password manager.
Password manager.
So things like these can be easily built, and you can have the repository. Don't take a lot of time, believe me. There will always be reasons and excuses, but once you are interested in something, you always
Yeah.
take out time. Like I know that whenever I had to like go out with friends, I would always somehow magically have the time. So just become passionate about something, and you will definitely have 1 hour or 2 hours a week to spare to learn these skills. And I think the rest of the time should be more than enough to cover the academics and the CGPA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you talking about the technical skills. So moving on to like projects, like what role they play, and what kind of projects you should be building. So we will like answer a few questions on those lines. So the first question for you, Gaurav, would be, what do you mean by projects, like in relevance to engineering students?
So as we just discussed regarding the technical skills, I guess projects are the way for you, or they give you opportunity to build your new skills. So you can think them as you just said, right? You can pick maybe some Udemy course and build some projects. So that is one way to build the projects. And from the academics point of view, you can create maybe in your coursework there are a lot of concepts that you come across. So the projects associated with your academic work are the academic mini projects. And I think in your university, they give you one entire year in the final year for a project, right? And that is, I think, the group project. So given that, I think you have a lot of time to do some really serious programming project. So you can take that time to do some very like entrance system, like say Jarvis. So you can create your own Jarvis, or like that is one of the example. So you can take time to learn about different things. Or I think in final year project you get since you have a lot of time, you can combine or pull together all the bits and pieces that you have learned across your like entire curriculum at one place and implement something really substantial that you can maybe show off during your interviews. So that is, I guess, the opportunity with relevance to your engineering academia. I think, yeah, I think final year project is best platform that even gives you enough time to work on that.
So one question I see that's related to projects is, where to exactly build the projects if the college is not providing with such facilities? So to be really frank,
Yeah.
computer science does not require any facilities apart from a laptop. Just a very even low cost laptop, like even maybe a Chromebook or something like that, is enough for you. Web has ton of resources, and I don't really understand what do you mean by where to exactly build. Maybe at your home, or maybe at your friend's house. I mean, I don't want to mock you or anything. Sorry if you feel offended. I'm just being practical with you. Like CS courses don't really need any infrastructure.
Yeah.
From the college's side, that's the power of the web in today's world.
Yeah.
You can like go on GitHub, create a repository, start sharing with your friends, learn Git, how to use Git, and then just like I don't really understand what resources are you expecting from the facilities. So maybe in a follow-up question you can you maybe clarify that, and then maybe we can give you a better answer.
I think I can add a few things. I feel all of us to be very lucky to be part of this exciting computer science industry. Because just imagine in any other industry, they cannot have machines at their home to work on that, to build that skill. For example, for mechanical engineer, they cannot have that lathe machine at home to build the skill of some crafting. I don't know what is it even called. But you have the computers that we use to build products at Microsoft is the same that you have at your hands right now. So literally, technology is at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So please take this celebrate this this opportunity and start solving your own problems at first place, and start building your resume in this way. And for CSIT students, they have relevant courses to make the projects. But so like including us, we both of us are not from CS or IT background. I am electrical engineer, and Amardeep is electronics engineer too. So how about them? So I know there are like a few people in this group who are not from CS or IT. So I think side project is the thing that they can do to create their resume, to maybe add these side projects in the resume and then build the new technical skills. So there are a lot of ways you have to just look around you. Like Jarvis is a great example. So these days you are logging into so many different apps. You have so many different credit cards. You have so many different important documents that you want to store. Why do I want to use? Why do should we use Google Docs, or why should we use maybe a Google Drive or the third-party password manager? Let's create our own. So these are the opportunities for you to create your own projects. I'll give you my one small example. So when I was in my second year of undergrad, we I had one problem. Like the problem was in my college, I could not able to see the cricket score. Like there was a cricket tournament going on, and I was very much interested to follow the Sachin used to play then. So the Sachin's batting. But in my mobile, I had 2G network. So that cricket info, even that I could not load on my phone. Then what I did, so I just could send like WhatsApp message. Then I knew bit of Raspberry Pi. Then I took Raspberry Pi, had a WhatsApp a web client into that, and then hosted my one spare number there. And then whenever I used to send the score as a message to that Raspberry Pi's number, then I'll get the score. So this was the one small side project that I did. But trust me, I could show up that project in my interview even for my Microsoft one. So these are the ways how you build your skills, how you build your projects. And yeah, you have the resources. Even I had just small, like very basic laptop then. So this is how I don't think we need any fancy facility or something. And I think right now the internet is readily available in India. I think all of you have a fancy 4G LTE connection. So I don't think we need anything else apart from
Yeah,
that.
and also like I mean, one thing I can think about, like maybe the facilities you're talking about is like maybe you need access to some like third-party services for building like maybe more like or training your models or something. So you need more powerful PCs or something like that. So maybe AWS or Azure access. So if that is a thing, I think they do have like the free tiers, and they should be more than enough for students to experiment and learn things and like how to host things on these cloud platforms and stuff like that. And with that said, like I see that you guys are posting a lot of like really good questions. So we are not getting to all of the questions right now. We will definitely get to them towards the end of this session. So we will have like a dedicated Q&A section, and we will get to it at the end. And so for like to give you a small summary of like projects, we covered like academic projects, final year projects, and side projects. So try to understand like it takes time to widen your perspective about academics. Like I understand that colleges don't have readily available problem statements for you to solve, but try to map your courses with universities like MIT. Like there are a ton of free courses out there that map directly with the courses you are studying. Like I can give you we can like share a few links like ocw.mit. There's a website from MIT where whatever courses they teach to their students, they have all the videos available for everyone for free. Or there is Coursera. So there are things like that you can always map your current academics to and get an inspiration about, or just get an idea of what kind of projects do those students build in their courses that are like really similar or the same thing, and just try to build those projects by yourself. And I'm sure the faculty can definitely help you if you get stuck. Or if you're like really stuck, try to reach out to people on LinkedIn. It's an excellent platform. If you really show me interest, I'm pretty sure that I will be excited to help someone or mentor someone who wants to build something really cool and learn things. So try to reach out to people. There will always be someone who would want to help you out. in some or the other way. So that's like what the project is, a summary of. So we are skipping one question in all these pillars.
Amardeep, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so recently a college has got the around 5,000 licensing from Coursera. So
Okay.
I just wanted to put this thing in front of all that is it doing worth courses from Coursera or Udemy or Khan Academy
Yeah.
related to, yeah.
Yes, sir. It really helps if they know what they're looking for. Like I personally did like a course or one or two to just get started, to just get an idea about the technologies that are being used in the industry currently, and then I could jump. Like for example, I got to know about TypeScript or React through one of these courses, and then I was able to like visit their websites, like React's website, because they have excellent documentation, or TypeScript's website, and learn more about these technologies going forward. But like I would, like from our experience, we would say yes, it does help to take courses from these websites. But there is a word of caution there. Sometimes what happens is the amount of content that these websites present is a lot.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes like I'm not sure if you all watch like Netflix or some other streaming service. It happens with me a lot. Like if I try to search for one series, and then I end up like checking out a ton of them, and I don't watch anything in the end. So that is something like a fatigue kind of thing that you can have from these websites that provide you a ton of content. So try to filter what you're looking for before you go on these websites, and then look for the courses.
I think go with the motivation or the exact focus that you want to learn from that. That will help you to narrow down. And regarding the Coursera things, I want to share my personal experience. Like, how did I move to computer science from electrical? I think the Coursera is the reason. So when I was in my second year, when I found that I don't the electrical engineering is something that don't really excites me, then actually I came across this platform, the Coursera and the edX.org. So I think they gave me phenomenal opportunities to learn about the world class, the courses in the world class university, Yale, Harvard. So I think this is the like I would say all of you are so lucky that sir just mentioned about opportunity for all of you to learn those things from your college. So that's great. I think all of you should grab that opportunity and make most out of that.
Like we need to be mindful of your time here. Like we are already running behind a lot. So let's quickly cover the other two pillars, and then like I was telling you before, that one of the things that we are skipping in all these pillars is the question about how to put these things into the resume. So we will cover it for all the pillars in the end. Or if we are not able to do that, we will share our resumes with you guys. Maybe in the chat, or we will provide it to Ravi sir and he can circulate it with you people. So, or we can even have like a follow-up session if you think it will be useful. So let's talk about another pillar called experience. So Gaurav, like what do you? Okay, so experience, like listen, like hearing this word, it creates a doubt that we are students. Why is the company expecting us to have some experience? So what do you really mean by experience for a student? And how can a student gain experience even without a job or something like?
Yeah, I know this is daunting. Like it's like, we can expect like most of us are looking for our first job, and then how does this column comes into the picture of experience? How does experience even applies to new grads? So this is fair question. But so what I mean by experience here is experience means your experience of working on the projects which are consumed by real life people, or your experience of working on the real life projects. That is what the experience means. So let's differentiate these projects first. So the projects that we just talked, like the curricular projects, then your final year project, and maybe the side projects. So those are the projects that you create to get good grades. Like you work on that project, build some skill, then get it graded, means get it checked, get good marks, and then just leave it forever and might not come back to that again. And again, there could be maybe very limited a set of tests that you perform to validate the project. But when I talk about the projects that you do in your experience or in your work experience, is something that is consumed by the real life people. That project, the system that you develop in that experience part is actually deployed somewhere and by consumed by many people. So in that case, you have to think of many different scenarios. For example, a lot of corner cases, a lot of edge cases. What could be maybe what could be different things where your system might fail. Problems like scalability, problems like say security. So you have to consider all these things in your real life project. So these projects, I'm referring to the working on these projects as experience. So yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and like talk about the different ways you can gain these experience.
Yeah. So again, as I said, right, for a new grad, we usually think that for us it's not possible to work on real life project. Like that's what our first impression is, but that's not totally true, I think. So there are multiple ways how you can get involved into the project that are like consumed by real people. So one of the obvious way I see is the internship. I think internship is the way. Internship is the place where you get opportunity to work on the real life product. Like you can get employed for the company for 10 to 12 weeks, where they give you chance to work on the real project they are working for their customers or clients. So you should reach out to your seniors. You should reach out to maybe people like us who are already active into the industry and ask for the opportunities if they have in their places for maybe internships or something like that. Other thing I think of internship is in India, like a lot of premier institutes like say IITs and NITs, they support a lot of open source development. They maintain a lot of open source projects. For example, IIT Bombay, they develop, I think, MATLAB, open source equivalent of MATLAB called Scilab. So they need developers like you. So if you feel free to seek opportunities with them. So they are working on the real life project. So if you could contribute to them, so that will be counted as the experience. I think another way of experience would be uh, maybe working on the open source project. So as you just said about the GitHub, right? So there are like thousands of frameworks and open source projects which are maintained on the GitHub. You can just you should explore the opportunities of GitHub, like where there are like tons of projects, there are thousands of issues raised for each project. So you don't have to like go and maybe build a very fancy difficult feature that you don't even know about, but you can start with maybe improving the documentation, maybe fixing the small issues. In GitHub there is something called issue. You should go there, see how people are using that particular framework, look for the issues. There are certain issues which could be easily fixable. Then you to fix that issue, you would have to learn that system. So that will be really system. It is a very close experience that you will have in the industry while you will be working, that you will get while you are a student. So I think these are the way you can build experience.
Oh. And just to like expand on the point of GitHub, so how to get started is a really thing that even I was like, really confused about, or I had no idea like how to even get started with that, and why would someone allow me to do it. So it's just a simple Google search away. Just search on Google how to get started with contributing on open source, and you will see like the top few results will point you, like there are people out there who like literally uh, crawl the GitHub data and they create pages for people who are just beginning to contribute to open source, so that it becomes easier for you to find small issues related to smaller projects. So that's how you start. And one of the really important skills that you need in software development, at least in the industry, is the ability to understand someone else's code. Like whenever you join a company, it's very rare that you will start working on a project that is being written from scratch. Okay, and people will not even expect you to do it right away. So they will add you to some project that's pre-existing and expect you to start understanding how the system works. And the first thing you do to understand how the system works is fixing bugs, because that way you're not wasting the company's money, you're contributing to the company's success as well. So I would really like encourage you guys to go and Google search like how to get started with contributing to open source, and you will get a really good resources on in the first page of search itself. And start contributing to small issues, raise pull requests. This might be a really new term for you if you are not aware of what GitHub is or what Git is. There are really good YouTube videos out there for you to just search what is Git or what is GitHub, getting started with GitHub. Or if you guys feel that that's not something, or it's not easy for you to get started with that, maybe we can have like some session for you guys to just get you started, give you that initial push. So that is something we can do in the future if necessary, or if it will be useful to guys. But like having said that, like uh, these are some ways you get the experience. I'm not sure if Gaurav mentioned about NGOs and NGO opportunities. Yeah, so I will just quickly mention it to you because we are already running out of time. We are already past the 1 hour session thing. Yeah. So the point about NGOs and NPOs is, so there are a lot of local NGOs in Thane that are trying to and a lot of them still like topic. So approach them on their webs and volunteer some problems for them, or you really relate with some cause. Like for example, I still remember, like I really liked the Teach for India, or the one that I'm currently involved with, like Mentor to Go. So if you are involved, or if you really relate with some cause, reach out to them, and they always appreciate free help, right? So it can be something that you can build for them, and that will really help you to put something on the resume. So it's a win-win for both NGOs and you, and we will be working like it's a really good way of building experience for people, like where they like companies don't come into colleges for internships.
So I think, yeah, just to add something on that, like say now you have got like a lot of time in home quarantine. You're locked in home. So like if you cannot reach to say maybe NGOs or something like that, just seek for the small businesses around you. There are a lot of like small shops, restaurants. You can reach out to them. They might be interested in building their own website or mobile app. You can ask them. You can help them building that. So they might not give you money, but the experience you will get with building that is something that is really helpful for your resume, for your skills, and it will give you it will boost your confidence a lot, that you will have something that you can always showcase, like this is what that I built. So I try to gain the experience on working with the real life projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is the last section in the resume called achievements. What exactly this achievements means? What exactly comes under the achievements?
So this is something like that can have multiple categories here. Like there can be things like maybe you participated in some competitions, national level or regional level competitions, or you had some scholarships, or maybe you participated in some hackathons online and you won something there, or you. So yeah, like I would say these are the kind of things that can come under achievements and accomplishments. Uh, and how are they like going to help you in the interview process is that these kind of achievements and accomplishments, they establish you as a leader or a team player, which are essential skills for a person who is going to work in an industry where it's always about the team. It's never like you're a alone person in the team sitting down and writing the code all the time. A lot of the time you will be spending with the people, so you really need to have like good people skills, so that people can socialize well with you, and you can communicate in a good way with others, your team members, and that contributes a lot to your success. So having some achievements under your belt will give you a diverse perspective about dealing with people from different maybe branches or something. Like one example I can give, I used to participate in a competition called Robocon, and it used to be like a team of 30 students in the college and people from different branches like computers, mechanical, electronics, and you get a perspective of the way they think about things, and you even learn things, some things. And I used to lead like the team for the electronics group, and I learned a lot, like talking to my juniors, talking to my seniors, and that is helping me a lot in Microsoft when I deal with my peers here. So that's how I see the achievements help you. But again, like if you have really good technical skills, projects, and work experience, you can feel free to drop this section from the resume. At least from my experience, the resume that I had for Microsoft, I had a bunch of experience and projects to put into the resume. I could not make space for achievements, which is totally fine. But you can always mention them when you're pitching yourself to the recruiters or in an interview when you're introducing yourself. You can always like mention them in the last few seconds of your introduction. So that's how I see achievements, and it's not like super important to have accomplishments at this stage of your career. You're just getting started. You're just getting into the industry. So make sure to focus on the middle three skills. That's what we can provide you like more exposure about, or more help with, and talk about our experiences, because academics will vary person to person, and like even like
achievements will change, and again everyone might not get opportunity to be part of that kind of stuff that you just mentioned. Like everyone cannot be lead the Robocon team, for example. So I think those things are not everyone can have. But I think technical skills, projects, and experience is something that all of us can try to gain, and try to balance our resume with these things.
So I see a bunch of questions about like asking about competitive programming, or like how did you get into Microsoft, and things like that. So the next thing we would like to cover is like, what other than these 5 pillars do you really need to get into a company like Microsoft, and share our experience, like how did we do it. Before I do that, Ravi sir, like I see that we only have 15 minutes left for the overall session to end. Is it okay if we go like extend it by another 15 minutes or 20 minutes, or is it like a hard stop?
Amardeep, I'm worrying about your time. What is time there?
That's fine with us. We can manage that.
I think it must be 11 p.m. 11 night, correct?
Oh yeah, it's
10:45. 15 minutes, so it's 10:45 right now. But it's fine from our end, sir. Like if the students are okay with it.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Let's move on.
Yep. So going on to the next section, like about.
Take your time, sir. Yeah, this is Pratap.
Knowledge sharing should not stop. Yeah.
Yeah, so take your time.
Okay, sir.
Because students are also really curious to know more about you and the questions. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we would really like to answer all the questions, because I see really good questions here. So moving on. So what is not covered in these 5 pillars is like the interview process. Like how did we like get recruiters to give us a call, and how did we perform in the interview? What was asked of us? So like building a really good resume is the prerequisite. If you have a really good resume, only then you can start approaching the recruiters, and it would make sense only then. If you don't have a good resume, then the chances of the recruiters looking at it or even giving you a call are very slim. So, and that is what the most time consuming thing is, I would say. And I think Gaurav would agree with me here that building a really good resume takes time. So, start at whatever stage you are, start building a good resume. If you're in your 4th year, spend at least like the next 2 to 3 months, or maybe this semester, in building a really good resume, and then you're gonna like start approaching the recruiters. And because you will have a really good resume, they will also be interested in you, giving you a call or giving you a chance. So that's the first thing that you need to get a call. And then other than that, like people are already talking about competitive programming. So don't just think about it as competitive programming or some questions that you solve on HackerRank. That is a part of the process, but think of it more of as like your problem solving skills. Interviews are about problem solving skills. They are not about giving you a question and they have an answer in mind and they want you to get to that answer. It's not like that. They want to see how do you approach the problems. And most of the big companies would have like as a first round, they might have either technical interviews, like
Screen.
over a tech screen of some kind where they give you like a set of
Set of questions.
questions that you need to solve and give that and get back to them in a day or two. And those questions would be like on their some kind of portals where you will like solve the problems. And yeah, they are like similar to the problems that you would solve in competitive programming. So yes, competitive programming does matter, and you do need to solve uh, as much problems as you can to get a wide perspective of what kind of problems can be asked to you. But once you clear this tech screen, and generally during the tech screen the question level is easy. They don't ask you hard questions or any medium level questions or something. They're like easy questions just to get a glimpse of whether you are able to like write simple basic constructs like for loops and while loops and things like that, or if you just know about some arrays, like very basic things.
Their aim is to get to know about your basic programming skills.
Yeah.
They don't get to interact with you in that. That's why they don't focus on the problem solving part of that, but your basic programming construct knowledge is tested in that.
Yeah. And then sometimes they also have some behavioral questions for you, and where they would like try to test you, like how would you behave when given a situation. So they will give you some situation about like let's say that you don't agree with on something with your team member. How will you handle that? So such kind of things. So are there in the tech screen. So generally the answers for all such kind of questions need to tend to the neutral side. It's not if I don't agree with Gaurav, I cannot be too aggressive with him, but then I shouldn't just keep it to myself. Like these things always need basically they're trying to test out is like how open are you to communication, and like are you making assumptions or something like that. But it's a wide topic. But sorry, you want to add something?
No, I think that makes sense. So those are the things where they want to test like how open you are to ideas,
Yeah.
how openly you can express yourself, how well you can pitch your idea, how you can back your ideas. So I think this is the place where
And
that
they
is
will be like
important.
mostly MCQ questions. They are not like you have to write an essay or anything. They will be MCQ. You select an option, and there are like 20, 25 of them, and they give you like a minute or so or 2 minutes for those 25 questions. So that's like the behavioral side of things. And for the technical ones, you get like I guess about 20 minutes each question. There are normally 2 questions. They're like easy questions around maybe binary search or very easy questions. So just like finding something in an array or things like that. So that is about 20 minutes each question. So the total comes to around like 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes per tech screen. That's the first round. That is one way of doing it. In my case, I think that's what how Gaurav's tech screen was maybe, or a couple of my friends had some tech screen like that. But sometimes when they also have like they sometimes they skip this tech screen and directly go for a first round of interview where, but it's a remote interview where like you will be doing it over Teams or Skype, something like that, and they will be sharing their screen, and you will have like a shared editor like VS Code or maybe some other shared way of writing code, or maybe just like a Google Docs or something like that. I see like Google does it that way. They just open a Google Docs, share it with you, and they post the question there, and then they ask you to solve that question. So there they are again like trying, and also like you keep talking, right? So there they're trying to see like how do you approach these problems, and generally the problems are like similar to what you will see in competitive programming, but in a lot of cases that's not the case. Uh, every interviewer has their own like I would say set of problems that they like to really test you on. Like I can give you like I had like 4. So in my first round, I was tested on like a question regarding a matrix rotation or something like that, and then there was something on a linked list. So and one of them questions was there like I had already seen it before in a lead code, but the other one I did not see it in the lead code. So that was like a really new question to me. But then I was able to like do it because I had like a general idea of how the data structure works, and they really want to see step by step. They don't want to jump to they don't want you to directly jump to the answer. They want to do it like step by step. And why did you come to that step, or why did you like think of it this way or that way? And then also like when they present these problems to you, they try to leave out certain things so that they want to see how curious you are, or do you are like, are you having a complete understanding of the problem, and before you start solving, before you start digging deeper into and writing code. So that's like how the first tech screen would be. And again, like based on that, they would decide whether they want to call you for the whiteboard rounds or not. Now that might change with the current coronavirus pandemic ongoing. Like they would conduct mostly remote interviews in these circumstances, and they would be similar to the first round that I mentioned about. But generally, when they have like whiteboard rounds, they would have like back-to-back 4 rounds, or in some cases 5 rounds as well. They're like 1 hour each with like 5 minutes or break between the 4 rounds. And like what you need to know for these solving skills need to be really good. And competitive coding is one way of developing those skills. So I would say yes, competitive programming is kind of required when you are looking to join Microsoft or Facebook or Google or any big companies, because that is like one way for the interviewers to judge, like know like how are you solving problems. But that is not the only way. Okay, it is required, but you need to just have an open mind, and you should be able to solve any problem that they give you. It might not be from, you might have never seen the problem before. Okay, and I had like 2 rounds or 3 rounds out of my 4 final rounds had questions that I had no idea about before. I have never heard about those questions. But it's again like I was able to communicate well, and you have to think out aloud. Everything you do, you need to tell them like what is the reason behind this or that, because you cannot just keep quiet and then come up with the solution and start writing the code. No, that because the interviewer does not know what is going on in your mind. Okay, and it might also come out as like you have already mugged up the answer or something like that. So that's not a good place to be in. And so like I was telling you, like what do you need to have for these interviews is your problem solving skills. And the second thing is communication. We cannot stress enough on like how well you need to be in communicating your ideas. You cannot be shy. You need to be like clearly open up. You need to open up into so I would not deny that I was not. So I was really nervous going in, but try to they try to have like an introduction in the beginning. They don't just directly give you the question. They have like a 5 minute introduction round. So try to build an elevator pitch for yourself, like a 30-second pitch for you. Like let's say you meet Bill Gates today. What will you say to him? Keep it ready in your pocket, in your like have a chit in your pocket all the time for 30 seconds, so that you can introduce yourself and you are really confident about who you are and why are you there today, and how is your experience or your projects relevant to what the company is trying to do. So do some research on like what kind of role are you being interviewed for. Like generally for grads, like who students who are just graduating, there are not like really specific requirements. It will be like generally very open-ended, like you should be good in problem solving, and you should be like kind of independent to some extent, that like if given the guidance you will be able to complete the tasks on your own and things like that. So they don't expect you to be AI experts or ML experts or web development experts. No, not at all. Like in our case, like he came from electrical background, I was from electronics background, and that did change in our masters. But I wouldn't say that because we did masters we became eligible. It was the things that we did in our masters that made us eligible for Microsoft. Like not everyone who did masters ended up in Microsoft or Facebook or Google, right? So it's just what we did transformed us, and that's what we are sharing with you in the form of these pillars. So like reflect on these pillars and try to understand what we are saying. And if something is not clear to you guys, we will provide you our email addresses. You can send us questions and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. And we might share like a single email addressing all the questions. We might not like answer individually to all of you. We might just like get what kind of questions you're trying to ask and have like a single email to save us a bit of time. So so we can always have like that kind of conversation. So yeah, basically for interviewing you need to focus on two things: your problem solving skills, which competitive coding will help you build. So think websites like HackerRank or Geeks for Geeks, or books like Cracking the Coding Interview. But before you jump into this, I would want you to start with a book called Introduction to Algorithms, because that builds the base. See, if you start directly jumping into the competitive coding questions, all you might do is just look at a question. You will not know how to answer it. You will go and look at the solution. That is not the way of like doing competitive coding, you need to really understand what is happening. You will see, like, over time, as you start solving these questions, you will see the patterns in these questions, that most of the questions will fit in one or the other bucket. They will always be associated with some data structure or some algorithm, right? So you need to try to identify these patterns. You need to reach a level where you're able to, from the question itself, in like given 5 minutes, you're able to relate it to
something that you
yeah,
already
something
know.
similar that you already know. And that comes not just by solving this, because that's how we have grown up, right? When we solve our math problems, that's all we have done in school. Like, we try to solve, we don't know, we go open up our digests, look at the solution, right? And because we know that the question will be same in the exams, but that's not
That's
how it
not
is
the
with the
interview.
interviews. You will get googly questions in the interviews that you might just be blank. So
And we have limited hours. You cannot go and solve 10,000 questions. You can solve maybe 100 or 200. So
Yeah.
you should develop the skill where even the question that is coming like 201st question, which you have never seen, you should be able to map that 201st question to the 200 that you know. So that's why I guess we previously said you should learn the skill to map the things that you don't know to the things you know. So this mapping is very important, and that will help you with problem solving skills. And of course, communication skill is the most important thing, because this is where if you just go and solve the problem, that will create the impression to the interviewer that you already have seen that problem before, and it's not your actual original solution. You might have just mugged that up sometime in the past, and you are just writing it down in front of the interviewer. So it's not about, they're not hiring you to solve the same problem in company. They're hiring you as a person. They want to see your abilities. They don't want to see your ability to solve that specific problem. So this is very important. Irrespective of you are able to solve that problem in interview or not, you should be able to show your interviewer how you are thinking about the problem, how you are look at the problems, how you are look at the unknowns. Because to again share my personal experience, in my Microsoft's interview, in one of the interview, I was not able to complete the solution.
yeah,
I just explained how I'm thinking about the problem, and what are the thoughts I have. I clarified my assumptions. I clarified whether the assumptions are valid, or first of all, I clarified what the question is, what the requirements are, and then I could come up with the algorithm that was working, but I didn't get enough chance to code that algorithm. So that is the way we have to think of this.
Yeah, and there might be some questions like around how much time did it take for us to learn these skills, or how did you acquire these skills. So for the interviewing part, or the competitive coding part, or the problem solving part, I would say you need to spend at least like 6 months, but not like every day. So like the way we did was we were not able to get internships during our masters, so we had like a two month gap between our first year and our second year of masters, and we utilized that 2 months. So I used to like basically solve the problems, or like first of all, like introduction to algorithms, like I mentioned. I used to go to that book, learn about a data structure, and then go and solve the problems. So I would to be accurate, I would spend at least 2 to 3 hours every day during my summer vacations. So let's say like 60 days into 2 to 3 hours, that comes down to like what, 180, 200 hours.
Yeah.
I was able to do it in like 2 to 3 months, but not everyone is the same, right? So I would say, like, for students in second and third years, you should start with introduction to algorithms, pick up one data structure like array or linked list, understand what it is, like, and then go and start solving the easy problems, like maybe just one problem one day. That should be more than enough, but try to solve it on your own before you see the solutions. That's the key here. And I would say, like, over a period of 5 to 6 months, you will get a grasp of the entire way, like, you need to solve or understand these problems. So don't give up in a week or two. It takes time. The initial learning curve is a lot for these kind of preparations. Okay, it needs to like happen over time. And since like you have a lot of time there, like you have a year or two, which was not the case for us in masters, because we had to.
We are very strong deadlines.
It was a very strong deadline. Like, it was just 2 years, and to be frank, it was mostly like after our first year that we decided that we should start applying for these big companies.
Yeah.
Like, because that's when we realized that we can do it.
Yeah.
Before that, we had never dreamed that we can apply for Microsoft or Facebook or Google. it was really out of league for us, to be frank.
Just the way most of you are thinking right from
now.
your questions I can make, you are thinking this is like out of our league, we cannot do that. It's not like that, believe us. Even like year before joining this thing, I never dreamt of working for Microsoft. So everything is possible, we can do that. It's about that is the whole motivation of conducting this session. We want to bring these ideas to you that you can do that. It's about getting the things correct, like building the technical skills, doing the projects, working on some real life project, creating the impact, and proving that you are the candidate they are looking for. So if you can prove that, there are tons of opportunities. And there are certain questions like, is masters required or not? So there is no such hard requirement. So I can share one example. Like in my team, there is one guy who failed his 8th grade, and he is SD2. Like he 8th standard. Like he did not even pass. He didn't make till after 8. So that is the thing. The gist is, none of the tech company wants to hire like people with fancy degrees. They want to hire people with fancy skills. So just
I wouldn't say that, like, don't confuse fancy skills like you need to have the.
I mean the problem solving and
So just like these are like normal humans like us, like you guys. Okay, and there are like there's some question about how did you apply to Microsoft. I understand like these companies might not be coming to your campus for placements, but LinkedIn is the best way. I would suggest you guys that start building these. So that's how we approached these companies. We built a really good resume over like we were fortunate that we had like research assistantships that helped us build like get some good projects. So one other thing that I would like to share with you is like there was a question that I answered half an hour ago about CGPA versus skill balancing, right? So one really good way of building these skills is participating in hackathons. These are like just a weekend, right? You just start on Friday night and end by Sunday afternoon. And just these 2 days, you can build really good projects that you can put into the resume. Like I'll share my resume with you guys, and you will see that I think there are 2 projects in there out of 4 that I built during hackathons. And see, it's just a weekend, okay? And 4 of us got together and built something really good. So that's all it takes to build these projects or these skills, or even just get introduced to them. So talking about like how do you apply, you build a good resume first of all, and then you can go on LinkedIn and search for the recruiters from these companies, and you can like in a good like being polite and like just be polite when you're asking for like a job or something like that. So like that. So don't say that, oh, I am looking for a job, do you have a job for me? No, tell them like do the research on the career portal of Microsoft. You will see there will be certain job entries that will match your interests or your skill level. Take those links, go on LinkedIn and like first of all greet the recruiters, and then tell them that you are really interested in these roles and you think that you will be a really good fit, and that here's your resume or here is your LinkedIn profile. Like if you're on LinkedIn, prefer just giving them your LinkedIn profiles instead of just sending them like asking them your resumes, and then try to impress them with the projects or the kind of projects you have built, like in a small like a few bullet points. Don't like write very big essays over there. It is like a messaging platform, right? Treat it as a hybrid between an email and a WhatsApp. So reach out to them and see. We reached out to a lot of recruiters, and not everyone will get back to you. Okay, so just be ready for the initial struggle.
Yeah.
But there will always be
like 95% won't get back to you. But there would be some 5% who would be kind enough to get back to you, and out of that there will be 1 or 2% that could lead to certain positive.
So for what we're trying to get down to is that we are at Microsoft, but we did not like. So there will always be like 2 kind of scenarios that might happen with you. One would be that you are getting a lot of calls and you are not able to convert them, and the second would be you're not getting enough calls. Okay, so we were part of the second scenario. I just interviewed for like 4 companies, okay, and I was able to crack 2 of them. The conclusion from that is I was prepared. So just be ready. Okay, you never know when a recruiter might find your profile really, relevant to the job post that they have in the company. So just be ready for the moment, because there will
You
be,
never know where will
when you really try and put your heart into something, it is true that you will get somewhere. Even if you don't get to Microsoft on the first try, you might get to like a you can like get to companies like Flipkart or maybe Morgan Stanley, or some local companies or something like that. But don't stop like trying to get to your dream jobs. I'm not saying that Microsoft should be their only
first
dream job.
Yeah, or that your
Whatever your dream is, try to.
And you might not reach to your dream in your first job. So this is about journey. It's not about, so you don't have to reach to your destination in first station, right? Right. In our Mumbai local, we don't have direct trains, right? Even the fast trains have their own stops, right? So we have to keep this in mind. It's okay to take their own time. Only thing we can do is we can do our best efforts. So I feel from our end, we should give our best. We should start working on the things. We should start building those skills. We should start building the projects. Then automatically you will see, you will get the calls. Then even after calls, to share my personal experience, I got 3 rejects first, and then fourth I could convert it. So even after getting call, you might get a few rejects, and then finally there will be a day where you can reach to your dream. So
and especially for students from second and third year, try to contact these recruiters for internships. Like, so there is always like a connection. So once you make connections with them, like they might be like there is no internship position at this time, but when they have like graduate level hirings, they'll contact you, something like that. So just be open. You never know where or when will the like opportunity land. So in my case, I remember the way I got a Microsoft call was like I went to one of the networking or recruiting events where they were not even considering master's students. They were only considering undergraduate students. But I still went there. That let me try. Like there is no harm in trying. Okay. And luckily, I caught hold of one of the recruiters from Microsoft, and I was able to talk about my projects and share the passion and like talk it at a level like that they really believed in me. So, and I think that was the reason I got a call from Microsoft. So I know it is much more difficult when you have to do it on a platform like LinkedIn or something like that. But just try, like keep trying. You will definitely get a call or two. But then along with that, it is really important that you are prepared for the interviews. Okay, because if you get a chance once and then you miss it, it like you never know when you will get the second chance. So be prepared and then start. You will also like have the confidence in yourself that yes, you can get into these companies. And like so that's all we have to say from our end, and we can quickly go over the Q&A, the questions you all have asked, and try to start answering them, the ones that we have not been able to answer until now. Okay, it's a really long list. So I think we already answered the question, does college matter? And let's go to the next one. Please show us the resumes. We will send you the resumes, and you should be able to see them. And then can you please explain about the master's you completed on University of Florida? So we did masters in electrical and computer engineering, and a lot of our courses were from electronics. We did VLSI, we did computer architecture, and
distributed computing.
Yeah, so there were a mix of courses that we did. But like again, like it was not just the master's degree that got us into Microsoft. And I would still tell you that not everyone. There were like 300 students, but not everyone was recruited in companies like Google, Facebook. So we had to do a lot of things on our own as well to target these companies. And luckily for us, we had roommates from CS backgrounds, and they were able to expose these things that we are telling you today. The things we are like trying to convey to you were conveyed to us by them.
By our friends. And this is like nice compilation of everything that we learned that we want to share with you.
So, and also like one other thing that we used to do was we used to try to go on LinkedIn and try to search for the profiles of people who are already working in the industry, like people like us, and try to see like. So I did. So I was really interested in front end development, and I messaged a bunch of people who are already working in front end development in companies like Apple, Facebook, or like Google, Microsoft. Not everyone replied, but a couple of them did, and that is also like a really good way to build a connection and then ask for referrals to them. And if you are able to show them that you have the talent, they also like to refer people. Okay, so again, like preparation is the key here. And yeah, so let's go on.
And you should have your enough background work to convince them so that they can refer you.
Yeah,
Like, and this is how you will do by building your own
if
projects.
it feels to me that you're wasting my time, then I would never revert back to you. But if
you show passion,
Yeah.
if you show your
like if so, one thing I definitely do is, like, if anyone contacts me, I try to go and locate their GitHub and try to see what
Yeah.
projects are they working
Yeah.
on, and that gives me a sense of how serious, or how passionate are you about software engineering, and then that convinces me whether I should be referring you or not.
Yeah.
So I think most of the people in the industry look at it this
similar
way,
things.
because we don't know you, right? We have never talked to you before. Why should we go out of our way and refer you guys?
Yeah.
You need to do the homework from your end to convince us to refer you.
So you should have enough work to convince us so that
And
we should be
don't get into,
comfortable.
see there, like, I would reiterate one point is, don't get into things like our college does not have the facilities, or our college is not doing this or that. No, like, we already told you, and we will tell you again, that it was not University of Florida that because of which we landed in Microsoft. Guaranteed, they did have, like, the facilities, they did have good courses that introduced us to these concepts that we are talking about, but we did our own due diligence to learn more about it and how to connect with them, things that the industry requires. Okay, so like competitive coding is a really good example where colleges don't have anything in their coursework for you to, where you get introduced to these things, but that's fine, because like, ultimately it's all about you, because once you get into the industry, no one is going to give you a syllabus like college that, oh, you do this, you get promoted.
Yeah.
No, it's always you have to build your own career path. Like, every time I talk to my manager and I ask him that what should I do next to get promoted, and his answer is always the same, that I cannot tell you what to do to get a promotion. Okay, so and one other point, really good point that we have learned so far is that to get promoted, we have to already work at that level. So if I want to be a senior engineer, I have to already work at a senior engineer level, and that applies to
you as well.
to getting recruited by these companies as well. When you are applying for a software engineer job, you need to be a software engineer. It is not like you are, don't see yourself as students, see yourself as software engineers or electrical engineers, and that's when the companies will be like, oh yeah, you do belong here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Like, you should be industry ready. Like, that readiness is something that you should able to convey to your recruiter or hiring manager.
the things like how did we get admission and what's the academic year fee, I think you can Google these things, and things have already changed. I don't really know what their academic fee is. In, like, it's been 2 years since we graduated, so I think, like, we would refrain from telling you anything about money matters or anything. It's all about your, like, what you want to do going forward. Okay, what type of project we should try? I think we covered a lot of things in the projects section of this talk. If you still feel that we did not answer all of your questions, please feel free to drop an email later on,
or maybe more specific question right away if you have, like, maybe if you need any more clarification.
And then, does pointers matter in the interview? They do matter to land an interview, but like you already said, it's not like you need to have like a 9.5 pointer. It's like some cutoff that they look for, and more than the pointers, they look for the the other skills, the other pillars that we talked about. So I would say to some extent, yes. So for example, it could be like, if it's a 10-pointer system, something around 8 would be really good to have. But again, don't lose hope if you have something like 6.5 or something. Do really good in the other 3 pillars, and once you shine out in those, like, it's common in every field you go. Like, when we see these cricketers, singers, dancers, they do not necessarily top their, like, academic performances, right? So similarly treat software engineering as a, like, career field. Okay, and you don't get into software engineering and write exams. No, you build products. So that's what is, like, will help you shine. Building products, being creative, being a good having good communication skills, things like that. So I'm not saying neglect academics; they are really important, because You can't just like
that there is a certain level that Amardeep already explained. Like you have to you have to maybe more than the threshold level of the academics. Then only most of the companies even consider you for the interview call.
Yeah, and a couple of you also asked us about like if you have a drop, how does it impact? So I would say like if the drops were in your earlier like years, try to cover up them in your later years. See, you need to put effort. You cannot go around academics. Okay, you cannot be like, oh, I don't really understand these things. No, try, like, you need to find the answer, like why. Okay, you need to step back and zoom out and look at the problem at hand and try to solve it. And I really hope like the college is like helping you out in whatever ways they can. Okay, with that, with the academic part. Okay, what all languages are mandatory? I hope like there's no mandatory language. I hope you're talking about programming languages here. There is no like mandatory language required at all. You can all like even in the whiteboard rounds that we appeared in, like pseudocode is enough. It's all about just letting them know the logic, the ideas, and these things will always keep changing. Okay, as you grow in the field. And then, is it good to go for an MBA or prefer MTech, MS? We can't really answer this question for you. It's all like it's a kind of career you want to make. See, I will iterate again. The next 15 to 20 years of your life are in your hands now, and you need to understand, like, do the research, like about MTech or MS, or but we can't tell you about MBA. So you need to find someone who has already done MBA and ask them what kind of jobs or what kind of things they're doing in their life after the MBA.
And it's about in your life, you have to live with that your entire life. So are you comfortable being, I don't actually what MBA does, but like for MS, for example, if you do MS or MTech in any tech field or whatever tech thing you want to carry forward, you should ask yourself, are you comfortable with the things you are learning? Are you ready to spend your 40 years of your life in the field that you have just chosen? So those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Yeah. And I think you are the best person to answer this question.
And see, there should be a reason for you to do these post-graduation degrees. Okay, when we talk about MTech or MS, like for us, in our case, it helped us to transition from electronics background to the CS background. But not if you're already in the CS background, I don't think you have to have a degree. Like you don't have to have MS or MTech. You can really do great things after undergrad. Like I already mentioned, like my mentor here at Microsoft, he was recruited during his undergrad for Microsoft, and he has done really, really great. Like he's one of the, I would say, rare species of engineers in Microsoft. He has grown really quickly, and all he had was undergrad knowledge. Okay, he has grown really fast. I wouldn't mention the specifics, but yeah. So you don't really. So try to understand, why are you thinking about going for MBA, MTech, or MS? What are the reasons, and how will it help you? Okay, don't just blindly do it because others someone else is doing it. That is really important, and you will hear this from a lot of people. The same viewpoint. So do the research, and it's okay to take some time for these things. How to go for a startup, because we have some ideas but don't have enough resources and capital. I don't think we are the right person to give you an advice, but something that we can add is you can like search online for. There are always like meetups that happen in colleges. I think there are like entrepreneurship cells. If there are no like activities happening in your college, I'm sure like colleges like BJTI or IITs, during their tech fests, they bring in a lot of people from the startup ecosystem to talk to the students about how to get started with these things. So attending events in those colleges should be like a really good way for you to get a glance of what that world is. And,
I think creating connection is the key.
And you should be able to create connections there.
Amardeep sir. Amardeep. Yeah. Hello. This is Pratap here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, actually we have a very, very full-fledged ESL over here, and we have many projects parallelly going through. So we already have some setup, and we have many done projects for the like Nine Hospital and many of the private companies also. We have given some projects made.
So we are having really one. Good. sorry, like we were not aware of that, so I did not
No,
mean to,
I'm just no, I got it, but for the students who may be not knowing this, maybe they are in the current second year and or they may missed it, so I'm just telling for them also, sir. Yeah, no issues.
Yeah, it is really helpful. So I would encourage the person who wrote that question to
Please
get
contact your own facilities.
Yeah. So there was like that question about startup ecosystem, and then we have a question about, is it necessary to do MS? No, not at all. We already mentioned this a couple of times. It is not necessary to do that. We have a lot of friends here who started in Microsoft India and then came to the US. So that is also like one way for you to explore like global opportunities. So I would say no, not necessary, unless you know you need some global exposure or you've already set your mind for that. I think we already talked about how to cope up with studies and activities. The activities that we talked about, building resume and things, they don't really require a lot of time. Just spending 1 to 2 hours per week is more than enough if you start early on. But if you're in your fourth year, I think most of our academics are already done by this time. So focus on the other three pillars. So like we did for like during the summer, right? We spent 2 to 3 hours every day. So you should be able to spend 2 to 3 hours every day. I mean, we did it for 2 months. If you have 3 months, you can reduce that workload. So try it out, and then see. I got into Microsoft during the first semester of my second year at masters, but Gaurav,
I got into the second.
He got it into the second semester. So it's not like companies stop recruiting after some time. If you are really good, they always have open positions. Exactly. So if you are not comfortable doing it in 2-3 months, take your time, do it in 6 months. Or even like after you have graduated, you still have like you can always sit for placements in the next year's like openings. The companies do tend to have more openings during the start of the year, but it is so you but it's not like they just recruit in the beginning. They always look for good talent. So and given the current ecosystem in India, there are always a lot of opportunities for IT. So what are the skill sets required to make it to the interview? I think we already talked about it, and the proficiency levels, like there's no like bar to it. Okay, you just need to stand out. That's how you like for technical skills. One thing I would say is don't go blindly for skills. Use your projects and experiences to showcase the technical skills. So whatever you used in the projects should be what you put in technical skills. So try to like don't write 10 languages in technical skills and then the projects only showcase 2 or 3 languages. Only write the technical skills that were showcased in the projects that you did.
Your each and every skill should be backed by your one project or work experience. So that is the thumb rule that you should always go with.
Yep. And the proficiency levels, again, like just try to kind of stand up. They're not expecting rocket science from you guys. You're just like people starting out of college. So small projects should be like small interesting projects should be like, good enough for you guys, or something that you build during the hackathons. Then you don't have to build projects that people are already using, not necessarily as part of projects. Is there any chance of recession in IT? If I were able to predict it, I wouldn't sit here talking to you guys. I would open my own business in predicting recessions. Seriously. Jokes apart, I personally don't think so. Like given that work from home has only increased, like everyone is. So I remember like one really great thing that not great but interesting piece of sentence that was told by one of the EVPs at Microsoft, that the progress that the world was going to make in tech in 2 to 3 years, we made that that was like compressed in 2 to 3 months. Everyone was forced to get on Google meetings, on Teams, on like Zoom. Their share value like skyrocketed, right? And even if you see like everyone has to take resort of the technology today to everyone has to come online, like local businesses have to start going online, so things like that. So there will always be scope for IT.
I think irrespective of that, we should be, if you're doing what you love, we shouldn't worry about that. So we should always think that whatever you're doing, try to be best at that. then the side effects of any of such events should not really matter. So I would focus more on making sure you are making most of your time, the time you have got, the additional time you have got, in building your skills, in sharpening your skills, and showcasing your skills by with new projects and GitHub contributions. Maybe developing new,
like even after getting jobs, like even if after you get into a company, don't become complacent. Keep on building the side projects, keep on learning new things, spend your weekends, a part of your weekends, to learn new things, and understand what's going on currently. Like, because I don't think like when I was working in India, there was a craze for cloud computing, but in over the like past 2-3 years, the craze for cloud computing has been like gone crazy. Everyone is trying to get to the cloud now. So people who were like aware of these things, they jumped on the opportunity and they got really good. They got really good.
And there will be always something trending. Like whenever even the event like recession happens, there is always new thing that comes up. So if you keep exploring the things and trying to ride the wave of the new trends, you should be good irrespective of any event.
And see, we cannot really predict anything.
No one can.
Okay, so there will always be things that will be unforeseen for you guys, or even for us, any one of us. There will be unforeseen things, but it's just that build your skills in a way that they can help you get through the bad times as well. Are you paid in this pandemic situation? Yes. Yeah, I would just say yes. What's the average salary in Microsoft? That is something that you should find out on your own.
I think all of you should try to make into Microsoft to know this thing.
And never ask these questions on LinkedIn to anyone.
Yes.
Okay, that's a no. Never ask them how much do you make. No, this is something for you to figure it out
by getting the job.
And also, like, let's say I tell you 1 lakh. So what you think is you should also get 1 lakh. But it is possible that you will do a better job than me, and you can we get 2 lakhs.
Why do you want to limit yourself?
Why do you want to limit, or like? So these things should never be asked. From our experience as well, we were also communicating the same things, that you should not ask people how much they earn. You should try to find it out yourself. But there are websites like Glassdoor where you can go and search these things. People post their experiences and such information about companies, so you will get a better like data over there, and a wider sample set to look at. How is the COVID situation impacting learning in foreign university, especially USA? We cannot really say how it is impacting, because it's been 2 years.
Actually, we have lost the connection of the universities right now. So I guess we are not the best person to answer this thing.
But to some extent, there is always it's not really smooth. There are some hurdles that the students are facing. Like that, what I can get from my friends who are studying right now, it's not really like really smooth for them going on here.
The ride is bumpy, a bit more than usual.
But you will get more information about this on Google. Just go and search, or even Bing. Is it necessary to do a MS? Not necessary. Just build a really good resume, and by resume I don't mean just write down anything. Build a profile.
Resumes are never these days.
They are made. They are built. And these days, people like give a lot of importance, not just resumes, even LinkedIn profiles, GitHub profiles, or having your own portfolios. Like, let me just quickly show you a portfolio that I built for myself when I was approaching the recruiters. So this is something I have not updated this in 2 years. Okay, so I was a grad student 2 years ago, and I hope you're able to see this. So so this is like a resume. This has like skills, work experience, education, front-end projects, academic projects, and contact information. So just giving your introduction, who are you, what are you doing currently, and maybe links to your CV, links to contact, and what are your skills. You can write much more than what you can write in a resume over here. What your work experience are. Showcase. So I was trying to showcase my front-end skills, so I did these animations and stuff. Okay. Then what education you have had, and these are the side projects that I built. Like I can show you, like one of the projects was just a very simple basic color game. Okay, you just have to click okay, and like there is one color that will maybe is the one that you should be choosing. But yeah, so this was the green color. It's a very simple game, okay? It hardly has like 50 lines of code. But again, it gave me some experience about JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So projects like these, like basic projects, build them, and these are like hosted on GitHub. It's entirely free to host static websites on GitHub. Make use of that. This is also like hosted on GitHub.
Yeah.
I did it 2 years ago. It still works, and it is public to anyone. So I included these links in the resume. So it really may help me stand out. And then talking about it again.
I think this is very underrated skill, like Git and GitHub. I think this is something that everyone in computer science should know. So if you don't know that, I think today let's take time and learn Git and create your account on GitHub, host your first repository, and start might not contribute, but at least start exploring the GitHub. So that is a key that you have to learn irrespective of the company you go.
Yeah, and then I think we already covered how to get a referral, build a good profile, and then start connecting with people from Microsoft. Don't give up hopes. Not everyone will reply to you. Keep trying, but don't like be rude to them. Everyone has their own priorities. Okay, so, like, not everyone is out there to help like
Everyone else.
Yeah, so be mindful of their priorities as well. When you apply for colleges for masters, do they consider extracurricular or just academics? I think both of them are they see a lot of things, and it is case by case basis. So I can't really say.
So
exactly.
I think even that is the holistic process where I think the SOPs and projects, ACADs, all of the things that come into the picture.
Like they really want to see how interested you are and
how do you fit in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like because unlike there in universities, their curriculum is like the courses that you choose, and does your interest aligns with the courses they have. So there are such other lot of factors which does not really translate into the quantified things like say academics or something like that. So there are a lot of different factors.
So there is a question about how did you develop your problem solving skills, and can you give us some tips on that? So like we already mentioned, introduction to algorithms. It's like a really
first
book.
thing. Yeah.
If you see, it's called CLRS. In short, that's where you get the concepts, and then solving the exercises in that book really help us. I think that's how we started, and I don't think the solutions are readily available, so they will make you scratch your head and solve the problems.
And I guess other interesting way there is you can form groups among yourself and ask questions. Like let's host weekly quiz, and like someone should come up with the question, others will solve that, and they will explain them. That is very important. You should always able to explain the solution. How did you reach there?
Yeah, and this is a really excellent point. I don't know why did we miss it before. Form groups. It's not something that you do alone.
Okay? You
need to very important. So I remember like I used to do this with two of my roommates in US, and we would like spend 1 hour discussing and talk, like thinking about our perspective, and then that helps you also build the communication skills and also like do mock interviews. That is one thing that we miss. Mock interviews is a really good way of practicing the problem.
After you have formed groups, you will start building the skill. Then take mock interviews of each other, and then in the groups have discussions. Like let's take one problem. So for example, the way we used to do is we used to assign a problem a day. So we had the time crunch. We had to prepare in 2 months. So in our group, we used to everyone with one problem, everyone else has to solve it, and then everyone has to explain their own solution, because every problem can be done in tens of different ways. So come up with its solution, explain to each other, how did you reach there? Everyone will have different perspective. You will learn from one problem in number of perspectives. So this is how you build the problem solving skills. And this is how you will be able to convert your competitive programming knowledge into the problem solving skills and the communication skills as well. And then later on, you can conduct mock interviews of each other. And this is the way to prepare for interviews.
Another question is, does front-end developer has those values in market like a back-end developer? So the big companies, you are called software engineers, okay, and they don't expect specific skills from you. Like I would say, I'm more of a front-end developer than a back-end developer, but it depends on the type of problems you're trying to solve. So I work on MS Word online. There is an online version for MS Word, and I work on that product. Now that product is really complicated in the front end itself, that it you have to apply all the skills that you will do in the back end. So there is no like such thing like front end developer does not have a value or anything like that. It's just like your problem solving skills, and you will apply it to them in front end as well as back end.
Actually, this is really not very true notion that has been developed over the years, that front end development is not really interesting, or I don't know where is it coming from. I heard this from a lot from new grads, especially in India. There's nothing like front end or back end. It's all about full stack. These days, none of the company want you to be master of just one thing. The full stack is the thing, and even while building your project, please try to make it end to end. Like, just don't focus on maybe backend, some small it's not, there's nothing small or big. It's about full stack. You should always think end to end, and this is the key for even your success in the industry. If you are just focusing on one part of the thing and undermining other, that is, I think, the worst thing. We should never undermine. Everything is technology, and everything is appreciated equally.
And at least when you're getting started, see, like mastering something in itself is a big thing. Okay, like if you are really like good into something, then stick with that one thing. But if you feel like you don't really have a mastery in one thing, try to be a bit more generic. And like the projects that I showed you were mostly front end projects, but I also did a bunch of back end stuff as well.
And considering the career stage you are in right now, you don't want to be very focused in one area, because companies hire especially new grad software engineers since they do not have the specific skill that companies understand the discount they are giving you at this cost. Like, you should be generally available for any problem given to you.
And you are never tested in interviews for front end or back end unless the job specifically requires you to have those skills, which is very rare for new grads. Okay. But over the period of time, once you get into the industry, that is when you can start focusing on maybe front end or back end, depending on your interest. And that is when you can start labeling yourself as front end or back end developer, because these labels are created for experienced engineers. And we will see, like, over the years that the positions for senior engineers are like more specific. Like they need a front end developer or they need a back end developer. So that is when you should consider like what interests you. It is never about what is trending in the market. It is always about what you can do best. So keep that in mind. Okay.
And the thing we just discussed, right? The things like events like recession. Like, if you such skills, having such generosity or your mastery will make you immune to such things.
Yep. So let's do it even more quickly. Microsoft and big companies don't come in our college, so how can we reach? I think we already covered this one. I complete B in EXTC. Can I change the department for masters? How to get admission in US university for masters, and what is the name of that exam? So I mean, you can find all this information on Google, but something I can tell you is that you cannot immediately switch to CS. Like even in the case of Gaurav, I don't think he tried for CS courses. He tried EXT, electrical and computer engineering. And then once you go for higher studies, that is when you can take these other courses that can help you switch. Not just in MS, even for MTech, I think. And what exam you need to give for masters, you can find it online. It varies from like where you want to go and what stream you want to get in, what college you want to get in, and stuff like that. How did you get into Microsoft? What was the process? I think we already talked. Considering this situation, or pandemic situation, is there any chance of Indians studying abroad? We cannot answer that, to be frank. Every country has its own policies, and the news will be more accurate than us.
And it's something that we cannot really control.
This is something that you cannot really control again. So try to control what is in your hands. Build a really good profile.
Irrespective of anything, that's something that you can control, and that's definitely going to benefit you some or other.
We cannot stress enough. It is not that masters will get you into Microsoft or Facebook or Google. It is get there. So even if you come here and start studying for my masters, you will have to do this.
The same thing you have to do.
You have to, And there were a lot of examples in my college. I remember who already had exposure on these things, and they landed in US, and in the first month itself, they got internships in Facebook and Google. Okay. Without any master's knowledge,
because they already had those skills.
Because they already had those skills in undergrad. Okay. So that's
and there
the
are
point.
certain people which could not land anywhere because even after masters they could not develop those skills.
Yeah.
So it's both ways.
Yeah. So focus on what you can control, what's in your hands. If you are working on projects like IT or like application and server based project, it will make nice impression on companies, aka big companies. So when you're building anything, any project, try to link it with some problem statement, and that's the beauty of projects that we worked on in hackathons, because hackathons were always like build something for social good, or build something for cause, yeah, for different causes, or something like they would give us like a big data set. Like some company would come in with their challenge, oh, we have this big data set, try to predict something
Or
out of
their
that.
APIs.
Yeah, using their APIs and stuff. So try to like have a problem statement in your mind before you build something.
Yeah.
Don't just go there and okay, I want to learn REST, I will build some REST API random.
Yeah.
No, try to
solve some problem.
Yeah.
And let that be easy maybe.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it should be some problem you should end up solving.
And that problem necessarily does not have to be unique.
Yeah.
Okay, don't think that
Yeah.
you have to come with a very novel
Right
idea.
problem,
Not
right.
necessary.
Even like creating first your to-do app is a problem you are trying to solve.
Yeah.
Right? Like think that way. Like you have to do these things incrementally.
Yeah. And then try to add your own touches into that. Okay, don't take just rip off
copy
some
and paste,
project.
yeah.
Don't do copy pasting. Okay, try to add your own touches that reflect that it's your
personality.
your
Yeah,
work. It's your work. Okay. If you want to become a professor after UG, PG, and how to go about it, is it necessary to have industrial experience? I think this is a question that you should be asking your faculty. So I think I hope Ravi sir can help you get help there.
Yeah.
Can you tell more about the technical skills that can overshadow the academics? I think we covered a lot about the
I think
skills.
we covered. So those are set of the skills that we just covered.
Yeah.
So, I think that is good.
And there is no like one skill or something like we told you in a very generic way. But to put it in a very actionable item thing, think of a problem statement like you mentioned already, like Jarvis or to-do apps or e-commerce website, and then think about like, okay, what aspects are there? If it's an e-commerce website, there will be some front-end work, there will be some back-end work. And then in back-end, okay, can you use Node.js? Can you use .NET? So
what are pros and cons?
Yeah.
What are trade-offs?
Try
What
to
are you
see-
gaining with
yeah.
something?
Like for example, these days Node.js is very popular because you use the same language both for front-end and back-end. So things like that, once you get to know one technology, try to understand
It's trade-offs.
and things like that, and then build the courses. So that way you will be building all the at least like the technical skills and the projects. You will cover both of them. Okay. And is it necessary to do an MBA or MS, or only graduating as an engineer will place you in any good company? See, again,
This answer.
just graduating does not place you. You have to do a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Even people who go to IMA or IMB have to work really hard to get really good jobs. So, and we shared our perspective for engineering. It is not a perspective from master students. Okay, please get that straight. It is,
this is
for
engineering.
anyone in CS who wants to land a good company, whether he is an undergrad or not.
Irrespective.
Yeah. Can you give example of skills required for jobs in AI field and web development? So for web development, skills would be like start with building websites and then go on to building web apps that are like full-fledged applications that you build on the web. Like some things like just build common games, build Ludo game, build snakes and ladders, build chess. Just build things like these and make a portfolio of games maybe.
Even that is good way to learn.
And then maybe you can share those with the recruiters or even play with them.
You can play with them during interview. Then for AI, I think there are a lot of frameworks, so you don't have to learn all of them. So you can. So I think Python is the programming language that has a rich set of frameworks.
And then you will start with something like pandas and then go.
After that, like TensorFlow or PyTorch, pick any one of them. So that is like a very high level deep learning. If you want to start with bit smoother, track Keras like thing.
But see, one thing I would like to point here is like I did not personally take any AI course, but I did take a course in data science. And AI and data science are really close, and there are a lot of concepts behind the like these. It's really easy to pick up these libraries and start consuming them, but there are a lot of concepts or theory that goes behind this. So try to get your hands a little bit dirty on that front as well, so that if people ask you about certain library function that you used from these libraries, you should know what is the theory behind that function and how does it do that.
So I think there is a nice trade-off. Like if you use ready-made libraries, you can do a lot of fancy stuff. But if you do some very basic project, but without using any library, you will get gist of the problem you are trying to solve, or you will get the gist of that library what it is doing underneath. Yeah. So at this point, at this level, I think a lot of fancy projects are not really expected from you, because they want you to test your skills to understand the problem at first. So I would really recommend implementing, say for example, the logistic regression. Like implement logistic regression in Python from scratch. Do not use a Keras library. Do not use the TensorFlow. Yeah. So this is how I think the best way to learn AI.
Yeah, and understanding the concepts of, like, the bell curves and everything that's involved in that, the theory, like a little bit of that will really help you.
And I think as a student you get time to do that. So I think that is a good way to spend your time.
Yeah. And by time we mean like sometime on the weekends.
Yeah.
You don't have to go full time on this, okay? Please, we don't want to hear back from Ravi sir saying that we are just pushing you to work on the projects and academics are not relevant or something like that. So what do you think about competitive programming? We already covered that. Where to exactly build projects? I think we covered that one. Sir, can we edit a GitHub repository? Yes, you totally can edit.
And just take time to learn GitHub.
Yeah, you should definitely, if you've never used GitHub, go today and start.
Today take 2 hours to learn GitHub.
Yeah, go create a new repository. It's completely free. You can even create private repositories for free now. They started offering private repositories a few months ago, which was not the case.
We didn't have that. So you can now even store your class projects in GitHub now without fearing of getting it copied.
Yep. So a short story on you guys, like how you got in the company. I think
we discussed a lot of that.
What do we do if we are interested in some other field, say UI UX design, but the companies that come to the college demand different skills? Like if you're really passionate about UI UX design, try to also apply off campus along with the companies on campus. And I'm not really convinced that the companies will have really specific requirements, because like for freshers, I don't think they want to put those restrictions. But if that is the case, then I would say along with that, and like we try to approach companies from outside. And if you really know that you need to go into UI UX design, considering you can consider some like masters or some like specific course as well that can help you more focused and help you build a really enriched profile in that domain.
Because I think that needs a kind of portfolio kind of stuff, and their specialized softwares or something.
Yep. So can you talk about how you approach Microsoft? I think we talked about that. What rounds you underwent? We did not discuss the questions we solved, but we gave a gist of like what the questions would be like. Any regret you had you wished could be worked on before applying? Not really, I would say. Like so I would tell you this, that in the beginning of my second semester for masters, I had applied for Amazon. I got an interview call, but I failed to crack the interview. So I think that was because I had just started looking into what is competitive coding and like what is problem solving. It was just a week after that, and I had given the interview and I failed. So there were a couple of learnings from that. Like I need to practice more, and so that is what I think was the regret there.
I think the regret point is, again, as I said, I failed 3 interviews. So the point is the main regret I had in all those 3 was the practice. And I think the thing that I mentioned of making practice in a group, this is the most learning I had, and that was the regret I had, that I could not communicate my idea with my interviewer, which I failed. So I think this is a way for you to avoid that.
In the same question, so sorry to cut you off, Gaurav. In the same question, they also mentioned that I play around with different technologies, so I'm good at nothing rather than just have a rough knowledge of each of them. I believe everyone has that phase. Like I also had that phase of during my education. So I would again try to link it with some problem statement, and then try to come up with projects and build those projects. That way you will dig deeper into the things that you're trying to solve. And does this affect during the interview? It depends on how you are portraying your projects, like how you're telling them about the projects that you worked on. But yeah, like again, like if you just put 10 skills in the top section of the technical skills and you don't have projects to back them up, then yes, it does affect the interview. So keep in mind that you build the skills and then put them in the technical skills question in section. Is it worth it to do masters in the US? I am not sure if you will say it is worth. I cannot say if it is worthy or not. You have to decide for yourself, because there is not just like you have to take a flight and come to the US. There are a lot of factors involved, including your own financial situation, and then also what are you looking for in from the masters, right? That is really important, and that is something. So again, when we came for masters, we literally had no idea about how to approach the companies, or so doing that research before coming is also really important. Okay, so I'm not sure about like what myths you are talking about, but maybe you can send us an email and we can clear that out. Can you please tell me about the GitHub student offer and its offers, as they contain several licenses worth thousands of dollars and all can be gained by their college domain ID and their ID card, but are unaware.
I think GitHub is free. GitHub is
Free for everyone. I think there might be certain services around deployment or something like that that they give to students.
Oh, I see.
So I mean, we don't really have an idea here.
Yeah, I don't think I spent enough time learning that part.
Those aspects of it,
Yeah.
of the GitHub. But definitely, like just building projects, hosting them, sharing with their colleagues, all those things are completely free. You don't have to provide any domain email IDs or anything like that.
And yeah, like Azure and AWS, I think they have free credits. You can take make use of that.
Yep.
And I think for Azure, there is Azure for Education or something like that. Those are the program your professors can reach out to Azure. They can give you certain credits.
Yeah. But for our purposes, even for the hackathon project,
free should be good enough. Yeah, I guess free credits are good enough. They serve a lot. Unless you want to host it.
And like since they are based on the amount of traffic, I don't think like as students we get a lot of traffic.
Yeah, you don't have to scale it that much.
Then what is the package? We are not discussing that here. Importance of internship in resume. Experience is really good. If you have done internships, not just in the resume, it gives you an idea of what to expect. It gives you a feel of life of a day-to-day life of software developer. Yeah. So that is also really important. How to approach people for referral, like I think research, look at their background. Are there similarities? Are they working in something that you are really passionate about? And you can justify that passion. Yeah. Most importantly, you should be able to convince them. Yeah, you should be able to convince them that you are actually serious about it. What kind of side projects can hackers do? And are ethical hacking internships available in the market? Hacking, as in hacker, as in I think you are referring to the hacker, as in like breaking into the system. If you're referring to that, I don't think there is a good. I don't think we should do that. There are a lot of good things that we can do, right? Let's build the things before breaking that, because there is a very thin line between ethics and some wrongdoing. So we should be a bit careful with that aspect. I think let's build first before breaking. And just to mention, we will go on for just next 2 minutes. We will stop at that, and then whatever answers questions we are not able to answer, we will try to send out an email. To with the answers. By next in a week or two. Okay, so let's just take a couple of more, like few more questions. And sorry, we don't really like have an idea about the hacking thing here. But they do value people who try to break their systems. So that is definitely a good way to impress the companies if you have that skill. Is competitive programming required? We kind of said yes. Did you do competitive programming on platforms like HackerRank or CodeChef? I would say yes. We use mostly the platform called LeetCode, and I also used something called Spodge. And Gigsfocus is good too. Yeah. You are from CSIT background. I'm from EXTC, studying in final year. I got a drop as well, and I'm reviewing my studies, studying languages like Python and programming to what extent company. Like I think we are again. And for the raw thing, you already mentioned that. Try to see if you can shadow it with the other good quality. Resume for our errors before I start checking into the employers. See, leverage your seniors here. Yeah, that is a really good way to because they've already been through that process. and try to see if any of your alums have cracked these big companies.
Yeah. Look for your
Maybe
alumni.
not immediately, but maybe down
5
the line.
years, 6 years, 10 years.
So you could try to connect with them on LinkedIn. They are always
Yeah.
happy to connect with someone from your own college.
Yeah.
We will also be accepting resumes. So that is one of the things that we were thinking. We would tell you that we will give you our email address. If you
Want to get it reviewed.
if you want to get it reviewed, you can send us.
Yeah.
You can email it to us. And if we just get like 1 or 2 resumes, we will individually reply to those. But if we get a lot of resumes, then we will create like a general document guidance with like sample resumes and what to avoid, what not to, like what things that should be just not be there. And one thing I will just add straight away: before sending your resumes, make sure it's just a single page resume and you don't have a very big personal section.
No personal information.
No personal
Please, no
information.
personal information.
There should not be your height, weight, or like color or
date of birth. Those
things are irrelevant to the software engineering or any engineering interviews. So where to apply for recruitment? We already mentioned go for LinkedIn or for off-campus, and then on-campus placements are always there. And who can I get to review my resume? Already answered that. How did you prepare for your GRE exam? Online resources.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah. How to tackle a scenario-based question or any other question which I'm not able to answer it. Again, see, you have to think out aloud. Just let them know what you're thinking about, and it's okay to accept that you don't know certain things.
Just be honest there. Don't try to fake anything.
Yeah,
I think that is the key.
And interviewers do try to help you out, and so just
listen to the hints. They don't bluff. So if they're saying something, believe them. So it won't be like
they'll not try to.
They won't lie.
Yeah, they don't try to trick you in interviews. Is only graduation enough? Yes, it is enough. I'm in my final year now. Should I write down all those companies that I'm fond of and start sending them emails? Definitely make a list. That
is good place to start.
I was looking back to what list I had created, and there were 500 companies in the list that I wanted to apply for, and I did apply to a lot of them on going online in the career sections. But you don't hear back from everyone, so be ready to put some time into it. So start sending them emails, yes, but make sure that you have a good profile before you start sending them emails,
because some of the companies have a blocking period. Once they reject you for 6 months or year, they won't accept your application again. So try to be at least bit of a prepared before you go there.
How to pitch to tech giant companies? Your profile in internet is your friend. GitHub, LinkedIn, or maybe your own websites. Whatever. I should do that. What is the AI?
I think referring to artificial intelligence.
It's a big topic in itself. We will leave this question for now. Sorry. What do you think about pursuing masters in India?
I think we already covered this. MTech MS. Again, you don't have to pursue masters.
We might not be the right person to tell you about what to expect in the masters in India. So go on LinkedIn, find people
who have done their MTech maybe in IITs or something.
Find out people on LinkedIn. They should be happy to help. How did you apply for Microsoft?
I think it's covered.
Yeah, both on their website, LinkedIn, whatever ways you can try it out. I have no achievement, skill, project experience in life. Is there even a slight chance? When you say you don't have achievement, that means until now. And I'm assuming
you can. There is always a
we did everything within a span of a year. To be really frank, after our first semester and before the last semester. So basically, a period of 1 year is what we spent on building our profiles. And for me, I just did it in 6 to 8 months, I would say. I started in January. That's when I interviewed for Amazon, and I knew where I stand, and I started building the profile. And then I remember August is the time when I interviewed for Microsoft. So 8 months is what it took for me. But it was focused and
it was laser focused.
So I was spending my weekends on this. What are the best books to learn programming or particular algorithms? Introduction to Algorithms is really your friend. You don't have to know the entire book. A lot of the things covered in that book are advanced concepts that you don't need for interviews. but the beginning few chapters are really good.
First, I guess 5 chapters.
Arrays, linked
really
lists, graphs, trees, dynamic programming, greedy. These things are like common in the interviews for the big companies. So go for introduction to algorithms if you have time. If you are in a really time crunch, then go for books like CTCI or Data Structures and Algorithms Made Easy. I would like to have a hard stop here. It's already 12.
It's already 12. So tomorrow we have office.
We have an office. We will be working tomorrow. Ravi sir, if you are still on the call, we will hand it back to you. And whatever questions were unanswered, we will write an email and send it to you.
Yes, just a second. Ravi sir.
Yes, I'm all here.
And this is our email address in case you want to note down. And we also have a feedback form somewhere.
Let's go to Ravi sir.
Yeah, we would give it to Ravi sir, and please fill out the feedback form. It is again like a very short form, only MCQs. Most of them are MCQs.
Like your RSVP. It is very similar to the RSVP.
It will really help us understand what we did right, what we did wrong,
and how we can help you even more.
So, Amardeep, Amardeep, you can post the link of the feedback here itself in the chat.
Okay.
I will circulate it also internally.
Okay, sir. I'll quickly get the link.
And post in the chat only, and I'll also circulate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, are we done now for today?
Yes, sir. We are done.
I think we are done.
All right. So, knowledge sharing is something which never stops, and I'm really glad to see the way you have taken up the session with quite interacting way. At the beginning only you have taken the session. I mean, that's the way normally it creates a curiosity also, and it's well said that the answers are going to make you same, and the questions will make you different. So unless you ask questions, the world will never be able to see the solution of a problem, and that has been realized so many times. I'm grateful on behalf of entire KC College of Engineering and Management Studies and Research, particularly from on the behalf of Training Replacement team. We are grateful to and happy to host you today on the session, and I know the kind of efforts you have been put in to make this event a success, because so many people have attended it. You have answered so many huge number of questions, and let me again ask, what's the time now at your end?
It's 12.
It's midnight. Oh my God! I'm grateful for your all the efforts, and I hope the people might have. They would certainly get the advantage out of the entire session, and apply also, right? And we, Mr. Amardeep and Mr. Gaurav, we look forward to host you once again a similar session even in future also. All right. And I pray to God bless you. Take care, stay safe.
Same to you. So one last thing to everyone, perspective of whatever we are talking here today. So we don't want you to feel stressed or anything. Our goal was here to just motivate you and show, inspire you. Just share our experiences and just tell you that you have the same kind of opportunities we had. So and don't forget to celebrate your successes or small wins and whatever you have today. So be grateful for whatever we have today, and along with that, let's go along the journey,
one step at a time. So don't stress too much.
Correct. So good night, Mr. Amardeep and Mr. Gaurav. Take care and stay safe. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hope everyone has a good time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amardeep. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good night.